they think they like me. In my white tee. Oh no, baby, smoke so much, don't need some vice.
Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. In today's video we're looking at a Leetcode question and the problem's name is counting bits. In this question we're given an integer n. We have to return an array called ans of length n plus 1 such that for every element present inside ans of I is the number of ones in the binary representation of I. So let's take a look at the example given to us. We are given a value n equal to 2. They have given us we have to return an array of length n plus 1. So the result should have n plus 1, that is 2 plus 1, 3 elements. So you always start the answer with 0 and you have to go till n. So this represents number of ones in 0, this represents the number of ones in 1, and this represents the number of ones in 2. There are 0 ones in 0, there is 1 1 in 1, and in 2 also there is only 1 1, so you get 1 here. So basically you have to convert the decimal number into binary and find out the number of ones present inside the binary string. So let's take a look at the steps we need to follow to solve this problem. First, let's start off by writing a helper function called count_ones, which will return an integer representing the number of ones in a string. So we'll call this function inside the main function whenever you have to find out the number of ones in a string. Now inside the main function, let us start off by creating the result array. I'm going to name it answer, which will be of the length n plus 1 as I've mentioned. You can directly set the first element inside answer to 0 because you know that the binary format of 0 is 0 0 0 0, and it is known to all of us that there are no ones present in it. So you always set 0 to 0, and always the first element inside the answer array will be equal to 0. So you can directly set it to 0 to save some processing time. Next, you start the iteration from I till n, and inside each iteration you have to convert this I into its binary string using the toBinaryString method. This will give you the binary string. Then we can call the helper function which we have written to find out the number of ones present inside the converted binary string. Now that you have the answer, you can directly append it into the answer array at the ith index position itself, because I is starting from 1 in the first iteration, the element will be added here. So you repeat the process until I is equal to n. That is, there are two elements, n is equal to 2. 2 is converted into its binary format. There is 1 1 inside the binary format of 2, so you append it inside the result array at nth position. After the iteration is completed, you reach n and the loop will terminate for the next iteration whenever you cross n. Finally, you can return answer, which is the return type given to us. Now let's implement these steps in a Java program. As I've mentioned, let us start off by creating a helper function. This will return an integer representing the number of ones. So return an integer. I'm going to name it count_ones and pass a string variable called num. Since the return type of this helper function is an integer, let's create an integer variable called count, initialize it to 0. This count variable will represent the number of ones inside num. Now let's iterate through the string num.length. Now using this I, we are accessing each character present inside num. We have to check if each character is equal to 1. If num.charAt of I is equal to 1, then you increment the counter. So this for loop will run for all the characters present inside num, and this count will represent the number of ones inside that string. So you can return count. So this count_ones function will return count. Now inside the main function, let us start off by creating the answer array. The length of the answer array is n plus 1 as they have mentioned here. Now let's set the first element inside the answer array as 0. So answer of 0, 0th index position, will always be equal to 0. Now let's start the iteration for I is equal to 1, because we already set the first element as 0. I is equal to 1 till I is equal to n. Now let's convert this I, which will represent the number, into a binary string. So I'll store it inside a string called binary, and then use the toBinaryString method to convert I into a binary string. This toBinaryString is present inside the integer class. So integer.toBinaryString of I. So now this I, which is an integer, has been converted into a string and stored inside this variable binary. Now we have to find out the number of ones present inside binary. For that we can call this function. This function will return an integer, right? So let's store the output when you call it inside an integer. I'm going to name it one count. Now let's call the function count once. This count once function will accept a string variable as its parameter, which is the variable binary of string data type, because we have to find out the number of ones present inside binary. Now that we have the number of ones present inside a string, let's add this variable into the answer array at the ith index position, because 0th index position is already occupied by 0 and anyhow I is starting from 1, so ans of I is equal to 1 count, which will represent the number of ones. This for loop will happen till I is equal to n. Oh, it's not num, it's n. So this for loop will run till I is equal to n, and in the next iteration, whenever I is greater than n, this for loop will terminate, and finally you'll get the entire answer present inside the array ans. So return ans. Now let's try to run the code. We're getting the expected output. Let's try for all the test cases. We're getting the expected output. Let's submit this code. There you have it, our solution has been accepted. The time complexity of this approach is O of n, and the space complexity is O of n plus 1, which is the length of the answer array. That's it guys, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.
Oh, I think they like me. Yup, in my white tee. Oh, no, baby, smoke so much, don't need some vice. Neon, nigga.